Do you know where your data is? Hello and welcome to another edition of S1 Perry. And today we're going to look at legal, ethical, cultural, and environmental concerns. Lesson number 4, privacy concerns, and privacy issues. Most people think that they have a right to a degree of privacy concerning much of their own lives. However, for example, journalists have invaded many people's privacy in search for stories. Now, if that's something like celebrity gossip or embarrassing photographs, we're generally going to be opposed to that and be very critical. But is it justified if they're exposing a story that is in the public interest? For example, criminal or dishonest behavior? Then the question becomes a bit more difficult, a bit more nuanced. The growth of the internet, especially our use of social networking and other websites, has made it harder to keep our details private. And that's because a lot of us just like to share. We take photographs, we do status updates, we like to share with our friends. But of course, when we share with our friends, that information can be then transferred around the world very quickly. We also rely on the social media companies working in our best interests and keeping our details private and not handing it over to other people, which isn't always what happens. So although we may choose to share our details, most people believe that privacy should not be deliberately compromised by the widespread publishing of personal details. So there was a scandal not so long ago with Facebook. It turns out they were giving companies quite a lot of access to people's personal details, the data collected by Facebook, and they were using this in ways that many people considered unethical. It is probably impossible to maintain as much privacy today as we would like, and it is unlikely that people will ever agree completely on what is acceptable. If you're using social media, you are giving up a certain degree of privacy. The question is, how much is acceptable? There is certainly a case for monitoring what is posted from an organization's computer systems. And whether this is a business or a university or a school, the issues are the same. Unacceptable posts such as trolling, racist or sexist comments can be traced back to the organization and reflect upon them. So if you're at work, if you're at school, if you're making posts that are considered unacceptable, bullying, racist, sexist, etc., that can be traced back to that school or that company and can reflect badly on them. So therefore, does that school, does that business have a right to monitor what you're doing and check what you're posting? Is it reasonable for organizations to demand access to and monitor social network pages where the content is posted from private computers? So this is becoming an issue. Some companies want access to your social media accounts. They want to be able to monitor emails, even when it's not from a work computer, even when you're not at work. And again, for privacy, we don't want to give up access, but some companies would argue that what you do reflects on that company, even if it's in your free time, even if it's on your own equipment. So again, you've got this kind of debate going on about privacy, security, images. It's a fairly nuanced argument. Many organizations collect data about individuals, and this is often shared with partner organizations. And this is something not everybody is aware of. When you use a website, when you give information to a company, they have it, but then this information can then be tracked and shared with many other businesses. And you have to be careful with this because it can be passed from company to company, and they can gather lots of information about people and groups of people. So for example, whenever we check in on social media, the location and time is logged. Whenever we take a picture with our phone's camera, and most phones have GPS now, the location and time are also logged. So where you are and what you're doing and when you're doing it are all logged by businesses. This is a lot of private information. Data, of course, is a valuable commodity. And there are analysts sifting through our personal information looking for patterns and opportunities. And this is sometimes called data mining. Data mining is an automated process that searches for patterns in large data sets in order to predict events. And it's been a really big growth industry over the last 10 or 15 years, especially with the growth of the internet and people giving up so much detail whenever they surf the internet. Businesses can use this data to predict future sales and help create effective and targeted marketing strategies. So a lot of us might be uncomfortable with this. They can use this data to predict things about us, what we want to buy next, how much we can afford to spend, and then they can target us and get us to spend more money on their products. On the other hand, data mining can have more useful concerns. So for example, crime and terrorism. Data about individuals' activities, including their use of social media, financial transaction, travel and internet histories, shared contact details, can provide valuable information to try and track down potential terrorists and criminals. So we can use data mining in a way that maybe is advantageous to society. On the other hand, some people would argue this sort of data mining risks targeting people unfairly as criminals or terrorists. So as you can see, in today's modern internet society, privacy can be a fairly conflicted and nuanced concern that requires quite a lot of debate. Just as a way of kind of summarizing, here's a table with some privacy issues, some things that you need to know about how we're monitored and how technology is used. We've got the idea that CCTV cameras around our towns and cities are used to monitor behavior. With facial recognition software, it's almost like becoming a science fiction film. They can monitor people around different locations over quite a widespread amount of time. We can use electronic tags on those who've committed criminal offences. We can monitor them, check their movements, check that they're adhering to curfews. Black boxes in cars can monitor how and when people drive. And in fact, having these black boxes can be important for insurance purposes, i.e., if you fit a black box in your car, it may reduce your insurance premiums because you can be tracked and what you do in the car can be monitored. However, again, that's giving up a lot of privacy. Can we make sure that data is not going to be misused? Mobile phone signals. Again, whenever we use our mobile phones, or even if we just carry our phones about with us, that allows our movement to be tracked. And maybe we're okay with the police and law enforcement having access to that. But again, what happens if that information falls into the wrong hands? Workplace logging systems. Usually, whenever you're at work, what you do on that computer is going to be monitored and logged, and they're going to know exactly what you do. So if you're using social media, if you're posting inappropriate comments, that could have consequences. Okay, everybody, I think that's enough about privacy. Join me next week and I'll have another video for you. Please like, please subscribe, and have a good day.